Beneath the golden sands of Egypt, more than just tombs and temples lie hidden. Some believe the pharaohs weren't just preparing for the afterlife, but for something far more extraordinary: interstellar travel. Ancient texts, cosmic alignments, and unexplained structures suggest the Egyptians may have understood portals, gateways between worlds. Were these stargates myth, magic, or misunderstood technology? What if the pyramids weren't just monuments, but machines? What if the gods they worshipped weren't gods at all, but beings from beyond our world? Subscribe now and join us as we unlock one of the most controversial mysteries in human history. The desert winds whisper through the cracks of an ancient tomb, carrying the scent of dust and time. Here, in the stillness of Egypt's forgotten corners, the past lingers as if it never left. The tomb sits beneath the weight of centuries, its walls lined with inscriptions that speak of a world beyond, an eternal journey into the afterlife. It is within these sacred chambers that the veil between life and death begins to blur. Here, beneath the golden rays of a setting sun, a lone figure stands, his voice a soft murmur against the silence, reading from the Amduat. The words echo, not merely as ancient text, but as the very path the soul of a pharaoh might take, crossing thresholds into realms unknown. The priest's hands move delicately over the ancient scroll, his voice rising and falling with the rhythm of a sacred chant. His words are not simply read, but are woven into the fabric of the tomb itself, summoning the world that lies beyond. With each utterance, the walls seem to pulse, and the shadows dance in rhythm with the priest's breath. The Amduat speaks of the journey of the soul after death, guiding the pharaoh through the underworld and into the embrace of the gods. But this journey is not a simple one. It is a passage through gates and portals, through realms of light and darkness, each one marking a step toward rebirth. As the priest continues his chant, the tomb is filled with images of those gates, gates that are more than mere symbols. They are, perhaps, the gateways to other worlds. The priest pauses for a moment, his gaze drifting to a carved relief on the wall before him. It depicts the pharaoh's soul passing through a gate, stepping into a boat of light, its ethereal glow casting a halo around the figure. The boat moves through the waters of the sky, its destination unknown, but ever present. The pharaoh, guided by divine hands, crosses these celestial waters, moving from one world to the next. The boat is more than just a mode of travel. It is the vehicle of transformation, the means by which the soul ascends to the stars. It is in this moment that the tomb itself feels alive, its walls breathing with the very essence of the afterlife, the lines between the physical and the divine growing ever more tenuous. Outside, the desert winds pick up, howling through the endless expanse of sand. But inside the tomb, there is only peace. It is a peace born of certainty, of knowledge passed down through millennia, and of a belief in the afterlife that transcends the limits of human understanding. The priest's voice rises once more, carrying the sacred words of the Amduat through the tomb, and with it, the feeling that the gates between the worlds have opened. As the priest finishes his chant, he steps back from the relief, his mind still wrapped in the vision he has just spoken into existence. For a moment, he is not a mere mortal standing in a tomb, but a traveler himself, journeying through the gates and into the boat of light, crossing the sky on a path that leads to the stars. There is a feeling that lingers in the air, as if something unseen is moving just beyond the edges of perception. The tomb, which once held only the body of the pharaoh, now holds something far more profound, a bridge between worlds, between life and death, between the known and the unknown. And in this moment, it becomes clear, the ancient Egyptians were not merely concerned with the afterlife as a continuation of life, but as a journey to something far more expansive. The gates of the Amduat are not just symbols, they are the very keys to unlocking a cosmic journey, one that leads to other realms, to other worlds, beyond the reach of mortal understanding. The Amduat is not simply a book, it is a map. A map of the afterlife, yes, but also a guide to the stars, a celestial blueprint for the soul's passage beyond death. As the priest's voice echoes in the tomb, reading from this sacred text, the words carry with them an ancient promise. In the Amduat, the journey through the underworld is not one of darkness, but one of light. The soul of the deceased pharaoh is not abandoned to the void. Rather, it is carried along a path that winds through the realms of the gods, guided by the power of the divine. The gates, the boats, the visions of stars, they are all part of this intricate map, leading the soul on a journey that transcends the boundaries of life itself. The first gate the pharaoh encounters is the gate of the Duat, the threshold between life and death. As the soul passes through, it is not simply crossing into the afterlife, but entering a space that is both spiritual and cosmic. The Duat is a realm of endless possibilities, a place where the soul must navigate its way through trials and challenges before it can reach its final destination. But it is not a journey of loneliness. Along the way, divine guides appear, beings of light, messengers of the gods, who help the soul find its way. These guides are not unlike the Watchers, those divine figures who watch over humanity in other ancient traditions. Their purpose not to intervene, but to offer guidance from afar. As the soul moves deeper into the Duat, it encounters other gates, each one more formidable than the last. These gates are not just physical barriers, they are symbolic thresholds marking the soul's transformation. The soul must pass through them, shedding its mortal form until it becomes something entirely different, a being of light, a divine entity, ready to join the gods in their celestial abode. It is here, in this realm of transformation, that the true nature of the Egyptian Stargates begins to emerge. These gates are not simply passages through the underworld, but portals to the stars themselves. The Amduat speaks of the boat of Ra, the solar deity, which carries the soul across the night sky. The boat is not just a vessel, but a symbol of the soul's ascent to the stars. As it sails through the waters of the sky, the boat is illuminated by the light of the sun, which has been reborn each day. The journey is one of transformation, from darkness into light, from death into rebirth. The pharaoh, aboard this boat, is not simply passing through the underworld, but ascending to the heavens, crossing through the very fabric of the cosmos. As the boat moves deeper into the night sky, the soul passes through various realms, each one representing a different aspect of the divine. The stars themselves are not distant lights, but celestial markers, guiding the soul on its path. The Egyptians believed that the stars were the dwelling places of the gods, and in this sacred journey, the soul moves ever closer to the divine until it reaches the final gate, the gate of the stars, the gate that leads to eternity. But it is not just the pharaoh's soul that journeys through these realms. The Amduat speaks of all souls who travel through the gates, each one guided by divine messengers, each one transformed by the journey. The gates are not just for the pharaoh, they are for all who follow the path, all who seek to understand the mysteries of the cosmos and the afterlife. The journey is not one of isolation, but one of connection, to the gods, to the stars, to the very fabric of the universe. In the quiet of the tomb, as the priest finishes reading the Amduat, there is a sense that something profound has been revealed. The journey of the soul is not merely a passage to an afterlife. It is a journey to the stars themselves, a cosmic voyage through realms of light and shadow, guided by the divine. The pharaoh's journey is one that transcends the limits of mortality, one that leads to a place beyond the stars, beyond the gates, into the very heart of the cosmos. The books of the dead are not mere texts. They are keys to a profound understanding of life, death, and the journey beyond. In the flickering candlelight of a tomb, these ancient scrolls come to life, as if each word carries the weight of eternity. As the priest reads aloud, His voice reverberates through the stone walls, carrying the echoes of countless souls who have passed through the gates before. This is no ordinary reading. It is a ritual, a summoning of ancient powers that guide the soul through realms far beyond our comprehension. The Books of the Dead are a collection of spells, prayers, and instructions, all designed to ensure a safe passage through the afterlife. But they are not just concerned with guiding the soul, they are concerned with empowering it. The soul, as it journeys beyond death, must face challenges, confront darkness, and ultimately transform. The Books of the Dead are the map that charts this transformation, showing the soul how to navigate the perilous journey ahead. In this journey, the gods play a crucial role. The soul is not left to wander alone in the dark. It is accompanied by divine beings, each one a guide, each one a protector. These gods, some benevolent, some fearsome, help the soul navigate the treacherous waters of the afterlife. The Books of the Dead describe various deities, each one guarding a different realm, a different gate, a different threshold. These gods are not distant, abstract figures. They are active participants in the soul's journey, offering counsel and protection when needed. One of the most striking features of the Books of the Dead is the depiction of the soul's encounter with the weighing of the heart ceremony. In this pivotal moment, the soul must present its heart to the god Anubis, who places it on the scales of justice. The heart is weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and order. If the heart is lighter than the feather, the soul passes into the afterlife. If it is heavier, burdened by the sins of the past, the soul is condemned to an eternity of wandering. This scene, so vivid in its detail, is not merely a moral judgment. It is a symbolic representation of the soul's readiness to transcend the mortal realm. The heart, in Egyptian belief, was the seat of the soul, and its weight determined the soul's purity and preparedness for the cosmic journey ahead. As the Books of the Dead guide the soul through these trials, they also offer glimpses of the realms the soul will encounter. The afterlife is not a singular, static place, but a dynamic, ever-changing journey through various domains. These domains are often described in terms of celestial realms, with the soul traveling through skies, passing through gates that lead to the stars. The soul's journey is not just a spiritual one, it is a cosmic voyage, one that takes it beyond the physical world and into the very fabric of the universe itself. These realms are not abstract concepts, but vivid, sensory places. The soul travels through fields of reeds and lush landscapes, symbolic of rebirth, but it also journeys through dark and tumultuous waters, symbolic of the challenges it must face. These descriptions, though metaphorical, reveal a deep understanding of the afterlife as a journey through both light and shadow, peace and chaos. The soul is tested, shaped, and transformed as it travels through these realms, ultimately arriving at the final destination, the abode of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Yet, even as the soul approaches this final realm, it is not alone. The Books of the Dead emphasize the importance of divine guidance throughout the journey. The gods, whether they are Osiris himself or the lesser deities who guard the gates, are always present, offering assistance, protection, and wisdom. They are the messengers of the divine, and their presence ensures that the soul is never left to wander the afterlife in isolation. As the priest continues his chant, the walls of the tomb seem to pulse with the energy of the afterlife. The Books of the Dead are not just texts. They are a living, breathing part of the ancient Egyptian spiritual landscape. They embody the belief that the afterlife is not a distant, abstract concept, but a reality that can be traversed, understood, and mastered. The soul's journey, according to these texts, is not one of blind fate, but one of conscious navigation. The soul is not a passive participant. It is an active traveler, guided by divine hands, but also empowered to shape its own fate. The Egyptians viewed the stars not as distant, cold lights in the sky, but as living entities, divine bodies that formed the very fabric of the cosmos. To the Egyptians, the heavens were not a place removed from life, but the realm in which the gods dwelled, a realm that was intimately connected to the earth below. The stars were not merely decorative patterns, but gateways to other worlds, places where the divine and the mortal met. To journey through the afterlife was to journey through the stars, to pass from one realm to the next, crossing through the gates of heaven and into the abode of the gods. The relationship between the gods and the stars is woven throughout Egyptian mythology. The most prominent of these celestial gods was Ra, the sun god, whose daily journey across the sky was mirrored in the journey of the soul through the afterlife. Ra's boat, which sailed across the sky each day, was not just a metaphor for the sun's movement. It was the very vehicle by which the pharaoh, and by extension all souls, traveled to the afterlife. Ra's boat of light was the means by which the soul ascended to the stars, passing through gates of light that were said to connect the world of the living to the divine realms above. As the soul journeyed through the afterlife, it encountered other gods, each one representing a different celestial aspect. Osiris, the god of death and rebirth, was the ruler of the afterlife, but he was also a god of the stars, his image associated with the constellation Orion. The pyramid texts and the books of the dead speak of the pharaoh's soul joining Osiris in the heavens, becoming one with the stars, ascending to a divine realm where immortality was achieved. But the stars were not simply home to the gods. They were also the means by which the soul could transcend the mortal realm. The journey of the soul through the afterlife was, in many ways, a journey through the cosmos itself. Each gate, each threshold, was a passage not just through the afterlife, but through the very stars. The soul's journey was one of cosmic ascent, climbing through layers of reality until it reached its final resting place among the gods. It is in the context of these celestial realms that we begin to understand the true nature of the Egyptian stargates. These gates were not simply symbolic barriers between life and death. They were literal pathways to other worlds, other dimensions. They were the means by which the soul could ascend to the stars, joining the gods in their eternal realm. And the gods themselves were not distant, detached entities. They were intimately connected to the stars, guiding the soul along its cosmic journey. As the priest in the tomb reads from the books of the dead, he is not simply recounting an ancient text. He is invoking a divine process, a journey that stretches from the earth to the heavens, through the stars, and into the very heart of the universe. The soul's passage through the afterlife is not just a journey of death. It is a journey of transcendence, a journey through realms that are both earthly and divine, both mortal and celestial. In the tomb's dim light, the words of the books of the dead echo, carrying with them the promise of the stars, the promise of ascension, the promise of eternal life. The gates are not mere metaphors. They are the real and tangible portals through which the soul passes, moving from one realm to the next, crossing from the world of the living to the world of the gods. These stargates, whether they are located in the underworld or in the heavens themselves, represent the means by which the soul transcends the earthly realm and joins the eternal cosmic cycle. And in this journey, the soul is not alone. It is guided by the gods, protected by divine forces, and carried by the very boat of light that traverses the celestial waters of the night sky. In the tomb, the air feels thick with ancient power, as if the very stones themselves are imbued with the whispers of those who have passed through the gates before. The priest's voice rises and falls, reading from sacred scrolls that tell of beings who are neither gods nor men, but exist between worlds, watching over the soul's journey through life and death. These divine messengers, often unseen, yet always present, are the ones who guide the soul through the realms of light and shadow, offering protection, wisdom, and the occasional intervention. To the Egyptians, these messengers were as crucial to the journey as the gods themselves. They were the intermediaries between the mortal realm and the divine, the silent witnesses who stood guard at the gates of the afterlife. In many ways, these divine figures are not unlike the watchers found in other ancient traditions, beings who are tasked with observing humanity's struggles and triumphs, yet are forbidden from interfering directly with human affairs. The watchers of Egyptian myth, however, had a different role. They were not passive observers, but active participants in the soul's passage through the afterlife. They walked alongside the soul as it passed through the duat, offering guidance and wisdom at each threshold. One of the most well-known of these divine messengers is Anubis, the god of embalming and the protector of the dead. As the soul enters the underworld, Anubis is there, waiting to weigh the heart of the deceased, determining whether it is light enough to pass into the afterlife. But Anubis's role is not limited to the moment of judgment. He is also the guide, the one who ensures that the soul's journey through the realms of the dead is both safe and just. His presence is both comforting and authoritative, a reminder that the soul is not alone in its passage, but is watched over by those who understand the nature of life, death, and rebirth. Anubis is not the only messenger who aids the soul. In the Amduat and Books of the Dead, we encounter other divine figures who assist the soul in its journey. There is Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, who records the deeds of the soul and offers counsel at critical moments. There is Hathor, the goddess of love and joy, who provides comfort and solace as the soul navigates the trials of the afterlife. And there is Horus, the god of kingship, who protects the soul from the forces of chaos and disorder. Each of these gods plays a unique role in the soul's journey, guiding it through the various gates and trials that lie ahead. These divine messengers are not mere figures of mythology. They are archetypes of spiritual guides that transcend time and place. They represent the qualities that the soul must cultivate in order to pass through the trials of life and death: wisdom, love, courage, and strength. The Watchers, as they are sometimes called, are the silent witnesses to the soul's transformation, ensuring that it remains true to its divine purpose as it ascends through the gates of the afterlife. In the darkness of the tomb, the priest's voice takes on a new cadence as he recounts the stories of these divine beings. The walls seem to pulse with the energy of the gods, as if the tomb itself is a living conduit between the mortal and the divine. The Watchers are not distant figures. They are ever present, lingering just beyond the veil of the physical world, their eyes fixed on the soul as it journeys through the afterlife. Their presence is both comforting and unsettling, for while they protect the soul, they also remind it of the high stakes of the journey ahead. The Watchers of Egyptian mythology are more than mere guides. They are the stewards of the soul's fate. They ensure that the soul remains on the correct path, helping it navigate the complex web of gates, trials, and realms that lie between the world of the living and the divine. And in doing so, they also serve as a reminder of the importance of balance in the soul's journey. The Egyptians believed that the soul was not merely an individual entity, but a part of the greater cosmic order. To pass through the gates of the afterlife was to align oneself with the divine, to become one with the gods and the stars. The Watchers were the ones who ensured that this alignment took place, acting as both guardians and guides as the soul moved closer to its ultimate destination. In the tomb's quiet darkness, the air is thick with anticipation, as though the walls themselves hold their breath. The Amduat is opened, and the priest's voice trembles as he speaks of the gates, the sacred portals through which the soul must pass in order to reach the afterlife. These gates are not mere obstacles to be overcome, but the very means by which the soul transcends the mortal realm, crossing into the realm of the gods and the stars. In the ancient Egyptian worldview, death was not an end, but a passage, a journey through realms of light and darkness, of the known and the unknown. And at the heart of this journey were the Stargates, the portals that bridged the gap between the earthly realm and the divine. The first gate the soul encounters is the gate of the Duat, the threshold between life and death. It is here that the soul's journey begins, and it is here that the soul's fate is determined. The Duat is not a simple underworld. It is a cosmic realm, a place where the forces of creation and destruction are in constant flux. It is a place where the soul must prove itself, where it must navigate through a series of challenges and trials before it can move on to the next gate. But it is not an uncharted journey. The gates of the Duat are not mere obstacles. They are divine portals, each one a step closer to the stars, each one a link in the chain that connects the soul to the divine. As the soul moves deeper into the Duat, it encounters other gates, each one more formidable than the last. These gates are not merely physical barriers. They are symbolic thresholds, each one representing a different stage in the soul's journey. The soul must pass through each gate, shedding its mortal form and becoming something more divine with each passing threshold. The gates are not simply passages. They are transformative experiences, each one refining the soul and preparing it for its final ascent to the heavens. One of the most striking aspects of the Stargates is the way in which they are associated with the stars themselves. The ancient Egyptians believed that the stars were the dwelling places of the gods, and as the soul passed through each gate, it was drawn closer to these divine realms. The gates were not just physical structures, they were the very means by which the soul ascended to the stars, where it could join the gods in their eternal, cosmic dance. The soul's journey was not merely a spiritual one. It was a cosmic voyage, a passage through the very fabric of the universe itself. The soul's ascent is not a solitary journey. Along the way, it is guided by divine beings, gods, messengers, and celestial guides, who help the soul navigate the Stargates. These divine figures are not distant, passive observers. They are active participants in the soul's journey, ensuring that it remains on course and offering protection as it crosses each threshold. The gods themselves are said to inhabit the stars, their divine essence woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. As the soul ascends through the gates, it draws ever closer to these divine beings, becoming one with the celestial order. At the final gate, the soul reaches the ultimate destination, the abode of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Here, the soul is reborn, shedding its earthly form and becoming one with the gods. But the journey does not end here. Even in the presence of Osiris, the soul is still part of the cosmic cycle, still moving through the eternal dance of life, death, and rebirth. The Stargates, in this sense, are not merely passages through the afterlife, but pathways to eternal existence, where the soul becomes part of the divine order and joins the gods in their cosmic realm. In the silence of the tomb, the priest's voice fades as he finishes reading from the Amduat, but the image of the Stargates lingers, their divine power still echoing through the chambers. The gates are not just symbols of death. They are the means by which the soul ascends to the stars, becoming part of the eternal cycle that governs the cosmos. As the tomb's doors close and the priest steps away, the Stargates remain, waiting for the next soul to journey through them, to pass from the mortal realm and into the embrace of the divine. The tomb is heavy with an eerie stillness, the shadows stretching across the stone walls, their shapes flickering like fleeting memories. In this sacred space, the air is thick with the ancient power of the past, and the priest's voice echoes with a calm reverence as he reads from the Amduat. The words are more than just scripture. They are the invocation of an eternal journey, a journey through realms beyond the reach of mortal understanding. And at the center of this journey is the boat of light, the divine vessel that carries the soul of the Pharaoh through the stars. The boat is not merely a physical object. It is a symbol of transcendence, a vehicle of cosmic passage that carries the soul from one world to the next. It is an ethereal vessel, its shape both fluid and solid, glowing with an otherworldly radiance that illuminates the darkness of the Duat. the Egyptian underworld. The soul of the pharaoh, along with his divine guides, embarks on this journey aboard the boat, sailing across the celestial waters, navigating the sky with a grace that transcends the limitations of the earthbound body. In the Amduat, the boat is described as a vessel of light, moving through the waters of the sky as if the stars themselves were the very sea upon which it floats. The boat is said to be powered by the energy of Ra, the sun god, whose solar bark sails across the sky each day, guiding the sun from horizon to horizon. But the boat of the soul is not bound by the same cycles as the sun. It is a boat that travels not just across the sky, but through the very fabric of the cosmos, crossing realms of light and darkness, of creation and destruction. It is a vessel that moves between worlds, carrying the soul of the deceased pharaoh from the mortal realm to the afterlife, where it will join the gods in their celestial kingdom. The boat is accompanied by divine beings, gods and messengers who ensure that the journey is safe and that the soul is protected from the dangers of the duat. These deities are not passive observers, but active participants in the journey, guiding the boat through treacherous waters and offering protection from the forces of chaos. In the Books of the Dead, the boat of light is described as being surrounded by a host of divine protectors, including the god Horus, the god of kingship and protection, who watches over the soul as it navigates the celestial sea. The boat moves swiftly, its glowing light cutting through the darkness like a beacon, leading the soul ever closer to the stars, ever closer to eternity. As the boat sails through the realms of the duat, it encounters various challenges, rivers of fire, serpentine monsters, and swirling winds that threaten to overturn the vessel. But the boat's light is unwavering, its brilliance a testament to the power of the gods that guide it. The soul, riding in the boat, moves from one realm to the next, crossing thresholds and entering domains that are both otherworldly and divine. Each realm is a new challenge, a new opportunity for transformation, until finally, the boat reaches its final destination, the realm of Osiris, where the soul is reborn and joins the gods in their eternal kingdom. The boat of light, however, is not limited to the journey of the pharaoh alone. In the Amduat, the boat is described as a universal symbol, one that carries not just the souls of kings, but the souls of all who pass through the gates of the afterlife. It is a reminder that the journey to the divine is not reserved for the elite or the powerful, but is open to all who seek enlightenment, all who are ready to traverse the celestial waters. The boat of light is a unifying force, connecting the souls of the departed to the divine realm of the gods, to the stars, to the very fabric of the cosmos itself. As the priest's voice fades and the tomb grows still once more, the image of the boat of light lingers. It is not a fleeting vision, but a promise that the journey does not end in darkness, but leads to the stars, to eternity. The boat, glowing with divine radiance, cuts through the endless sea of the cosmos, carrying the soul on a voyage that transcends time, space, and mortality itself. The priest's voice softens as he speaks of the night sky, of the heavens that stretched above the pharaoh's tomb, a canvas of stars and constellations that held the secrets of the cosmos. In ancient Egypt, the sky was not just a backdrop for daily life. It was a living, breathing entity, a vast, celestial map that guided the Egyptians both in life and in death. The stars were not mere points of light. They were the markers of divinity, the dwelling places of the gods, the gateways through which the soul passed on its journey to the afterlife. The Egyptians were not passive observers of the night sky. They were active stargazers. Their eyes turned to the heavens in search of meaning, of guidance, and of cosmic knowledge. Their temples and pyramids were carefully aligned with the stars, their sacred sites designed to reflect the movements of the celestial bodies. The stars were not seen as distant and irrelevant. They were intimately connected to the spiritual and earthly realms, guiding the pharaoh and his people toward the divine. The sky was their map, their compass, and their ultimate destination. At the heart of Egyptian cosmology was the concept of the duat, the underworld, a realm that was both a spiritual and cosmic landscape. The stars were seen as the portals through which the soul passed to reach the gods, and the heavens themselves were the final destination of the soul's journey. The Egyptians believed that after death, the soul of the pharaoh ascended to the stars, joining the gods in their eternal realm. This belief was not merely symbolic. It was a deeply held conviction that the heavens were the final resting place of the soul, the ultimate reward for a life lived in accordance with divine principles. The constellations themselves were imbued with meaning. The most significant of these was the constellation of Orion, which was associated with Osiris, the god of death and rebirth. For the Egyptians, Orion was not just a collection of stars, it was the physical embodiment of Osiris, the god who governed the afterlife. The pharaoh, upon his death, was believed to join Osiris in the heavens, becoming one with the stars and entering the eternal cycle of rebirth. The stars were not just seen as distant lights, they were the dwelling places of the gods, and the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife was one of ascension to these divine realms. But the Egyptians did not limit their stargazing to the constellations alone. They also paid close attention to the movements of the planets, the cycles of the moon, and the rising and setting of the sun. These celestial events were seen as signs, as omens that could guide the pharaoh in his life and in his death. The rising of certain stars marked significant moments in the agricultural calendar, while the movement of the planets was believed to influence the course of human affairs. The Egyptians' knowledge of the stars was both practical and spiritual, a means of understanding the world around them and the forces that governed it. The alignment of the pyramids with the stars is perhaps the most striking example of the Egyptians' deep connection to the heavens. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, is aligned with incredible precision to the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, which was associated with the goddess Isis. The Egyptians believed that the rising of Sirius marked the beginning of the annual flooding of the Nile, an event that was crucial to their agricultural cycle. The alignment of their monuments to the stars was not just a practical consideration, it was a spiritual act, a way of connecting the earthly realm with the divine. As the priest's words fade and the tomb grows silent once more, the stars above seem to come alive, their distant light flickering with the memory of the ancient Egyptians who once gazed upon them. For them, the stars were not just distant points of light. They were the gates to the divine, the pathway through which the soul passed on its journey to eternity. The night sky was their guide, their map, their connection to the gods, and in the stillness of the tomb, it becomes clear. The Egyptians were not just stargazers, they were cosmic travelers, voyaging through the heavens in search of the divine. The tomb rests in stillness, yet the air seems alive with the hum of ancient power, an echo from a time when the pharaohs were not just rulers of the land, but celestial figures who held dominion over the stars. The priest's voice, steady and reverent, recounts the tale of the pharaoh, not just as a mortal king, but as a divine being, a cosmic ruler whose reign extended beyond the earthly realm. The pharaoh was not merely a man who governed Egypt. He was the living embodiment of the gods, and his rule was believed to stretch all the way to the heavens. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was not simply the ruler of a kingdom. He was the intermediary between the gods and the people, the living God on earth. This divine kingship was not a symbolic title, but a belief rooted in the very fabric of Egyptian spirituality. The pharaoh, as the earthly incarnation of the god Horus, was believed to have a direct connection to the divine. This connection extended beyond the earthly realm and into the stars, where the pharaoh's soul was thought to ascend upon his death. The stars, for the Egyptians, were not distant lights in the sky. They were the dwelling places of the gods, and the pharaoh's journey after death was one that led him back to these divine realms. When the pharaoh died, his soul was believed to journey through the Stargates, crossing from the mortal world into the realm of the gods. But this was not merely a journey of the soul, it was a cosmic ascension. The pharaoh was not just traveling to the afterlife, he was reuniting with the divine forces that had guided his reign. This belief was tied to the idea of the pharaoh's ka, the vital essence that persisted after death. The ka was not confined to the body. It was a divine force that could transcend the earthly realm and become one with the gods in the heavens. The stars, with their eternal light, were seen as the final resting place for the pharaoh's soul, where he could take his place among the celestial beings who had ruled the universe since the beginning of time. The pharaoh's connection to the stars was not limited to his death. Throughout his life, the pharaoh was seen as a cosmic ruler, a figure who governed both the earth and the heavens. The Egyptian state was not just a political entity, it was a divine system, governed by the will of the gods, with the pharaoh serving as their earthly representative. The pharaoh's authority was seen as extending beyond the borders of Egypt, into the very cosmos itself. As the high priest of every temple in Egypt, the pharaoh was also the chief mediator between the gods and the people. He was the one who maintained the balance between the earthly and divine realms, ensuring that the cosmic order, or ma'at, was upheld. This divine kingship was reflected in the way the pharaoh's tomb was designed. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, was not just a tomb, it was a cosmic symbol, a structure that represented the pharaoh's ascent to the stars. The pyramid's alignment with the stars, especially with the constellation of Orion, was deliberate. The Egyptians believed that the soul of the pharaoh, upon death, would be guided by the stars to the realm of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and that the pharaoh's spirit would join the stars in the sky, becoming one with the gods. The pyramid was a physical manifestation of this belief, a bridge between the earth and the heavens, ensuring that the pharaoh would be able to make his journey to the stars and take his place among the gods for all eternity. The pharaoh's connection to the stars was also reflected in the way the Egyptians viewed their daily lives. The movement of the stars was seen as a reflection of the divine will, guiding the actions of the pharaoh and the people. The rising and setting of the sun, the cycles of the moon, and the movement of the planets were all seen as signs from the gods, influencing the pharaoh's decisions and actions. The pharaoh, as the living god on earth, was believed to have the power to influence these cosmic forces, ensuring that the balance of the universe was maintained. As the priest reads the sacred texts, the tomb feels alive with the energy of the cosmos, as if the pharaoh's soul is still present, guiding the people from beyond the stars. The pharaoh's reign did not end with death. It continued in the heavens, where he took his place among the gods, continuing to watch over Egypt and its people. The tomb, which once housed the earthly remains of the pharaoh, now serves as a symbol of his eternal kingship, a reminder that the pharaoh's connection to the stars is everlasting, a cosmic bond that transcends the boundaries of life and death. The tomb is quiet, save for the sound of the priest's voice, which rises and falls as he recounts the mysteries hidden within the sacred temples of Egypt. These temples, with their towering columns and intricate carvings, were not just places of worship. They were cosmic structures, built to align with the stars and act as gateways to the divine. The Egyptians believed that their temples were not merely human constructions, but sacred sites that connected the earthly realm to the heavens. The temples were seen as portals, stargates, through which the gods could descend and the pharaoh's soul could ascend. The priest's words echo through the tomb, and for a moment, the air seems to shimmer with the energy of the temple. In ancient Egypt, the temple was not just a place of worship, but a physical representation of the cosmic order. The architecture of the temple was designed to reflect the alignment of the stars, ensuring that the divine energy of the gods could flow freely between the heavens and the earth. The temple was a bridge, a conduit through which the gods could enter the earthly realm, and the pharaoh's soul could travel to the afterlife. At the heart of the temple was the sanctuary, a sacred space that housed the statue of the god or goddess to whom the temple was dedicated. This sanctuary was the most sacred part of the temple, the place where the divine presence was believed to dwell. The priest's voice softens as he speaks of the rituals performed within this sacred space. These rituals were not merely symbolic acts. They were believed to open the gates between the earthly and divine realms, allowing the gods to enter the temple and commune with the pharaoh. The temple was also the place where the pharaoh could communicate with the gods, seeking their guidance and favor. It was here that the pharaoh, as the divine ruler, could maintain his connection to the heavens. The temple was his earthly abode, but it was also a place where he could transcend the earthly realm and journey through the stargates to the stars. The car of the pharaoh was believed to reside in the temple, and it was here that the pharaoh's soul would make its journey to the afterlife. The stargates of the temple were not just symbolic. They were the actual portals through which the pharaoh's soul could ascend to the stars and join the gods in their eternal realm. The temples of Egypt were not isolated structures. They were part of a larger cosmic network, aligned with the stars and connected to other sacred sites throughout the land. The pyramids, too, were part of this network, their design and orientation reflecting the same celestial knowledge that informed the construction of the temples. The sacred geometry of these structures was not random. It was carefully calculated to align with the stars and the movement of the heavens. The Egyptians believed that by aligning their temples and pyramids with the stars, they could harness the divine energy of the cosmos, ensuring that the pharaoh's soul would be guided through the stargates and ascend to the heavens. As the priest finishes his chant, the tomb falls silent once more, and the echoes of the ancient temple rituals linger in the air. The stargates of Egypt were not just metaphors, they were real, tangible portals that connected the earthly realm to the divine. The temples and pyramids were not merely places of worship and burial. They were sacred sites, built to channel the divine energy of the stars and guide the pharaoh's soul on its journey to the afterlife. And in this stillness, the tomb itself seems to vibrate with the ancient power of these cosmic portals, waiting for the next soul to journey through the gates and ascend to the stars. The air in the tomb feels heavy with ancient secrets as the priest's voice grows softer, almost a whisper. The sacred scrolls have revealed the passage of the soul through the stargates, the journey of the pharaoh from the mortal realm to the stars. But beyond the walls of this tomb lies a question that has plagued the minds of many. Did the pharaohs know of beings from beyond the stars? Were the stargates they spoke of simply metaphors, or were they something far more profound, a literal means of communication with extraterrestrial entities? The priest pauses for a moment, his eyes glinting in the dim candlelight, and the flickering flame casts long shadows on the stone walls. The belief in divine beings who descended from the heavens was not unique to the Egyptians. It resonates across cultures and epochs, from the watchers of Mesopotamian myth to the gods of Greek and Roman lore. But in ancient Egypt, the relationship between the gods and the stars was particularly intimate. The Egyptians believed that the gods not only dwelled among the stars, but that they came down to earth, guiding and influencing humanity in profound ways. They spoke of the gods descending from the sky, of beings who were not of this world, who moved between the celestial realms and the earthly domain. The Amduat, the sacred text that details the journey of the soul, speaks of the soul ascending through the stargates, passing through realms that are not of this earth, but are instead part of a vast cosmic order. These realms are described in such vivid detail that one cannot help but wonder, was this simply the poetic imagination of the priests, or was there something more to these depictions? Could it be that the pharaohs were speaking of encounters with beings from beyond the stars? Could the stargates, with their passage between worlds, represent a physical rather than a symbolic journey to realms inhabited by extraterrestrial entities? The idea that the ancient Egyptians may have had contact with beings from other worlds is not entirely without precedent. Fringe theories abound, suggesting that the advanced knowledge the Egyptians possessed, knowledge of the stars mathematics, and architecture could not have been developed solely through the resources available to them. The precision with which the pyramids were aligned to the stars, the astronomical knowledge embedded in their sacred texts, and the construction of monumental structures that seemed to defy the capabilities of the time, all point to a civilization that was far more advanced than conventional history suggests. Some have posited that these remarkable achievements were not solely the result of human ingenuity, but the influence of extraterrestrial beings who imparted their knowledge to the Egyptians. The Stargates, they argue, may not be mere spiritual metaphors, but actual portals used by advanced beings to travel between realms. Portals that the pharaohs themselves may have traversed, either physically or spiritually, during their journey to the afterlife. This theory is not without its detractors. Mainstream scholars maintain that the Egyptians' knowledge and achievements were the result of their own intellectual and spiritual development, a product of centuries of observation, experimentation, and refinement. They argue that the Stargates were symbolic, representing the soul's passage through different realms, and that the gods were metaphorical figures, embodying aspects of nature and the cosmos rather than literal beings from other worlds. The idea that the pharaohs were in contact with extraterrestrials, they contend, is a fringe notion, a product of modern misconceptions and the tendency to romanticize ancient cultures. Yet, there is a tantalizing mystery at the heart of Egypt's cosmology, an enduring question that refuses to be silenced. The pyramids, the temples, the sacred texts, all speak of a deep connection between the gods and the stars, of a knowledge that stretches far beyond the known world. And while the mainstream view dismisses the idea of extraterrestrial influence, the echoes of these ancient beliefs continue to reverberate, suggesting that the pharaohs may have known more than we can fully comprehend. Did they, in their wisdom, possess the knowledge of other worlds, of beings who came from beyond the stars to guide them? The Stargates may hold the key to this mystery, a door to realms both physical and metaphysical, where the soul of the pharaoh ascended to meet the gods, or perhaps to something even greater, something that transcends the boundaries of earthly understanding. As the priest's chant fades and the flickering flame dies down, the tomb feels once more shrouded in silence. The question lingers, like a faint whisper in the dark. Did the pharaohs truly understand the nature of the stars, or was there something more, something beyond human comprehension, waiting for them just beyond the gates? The tomb, now dim and quiet, seems to hold its breath as the priest turns the page of the sacred scroll. His voice, soft but steady, begins to unravel the deeper layers of Egyptian belief, layers that many have tried to understand for centuries. The mysteries of the Stargates, the gods, and the afterlife have captivated scholars, mystics, and explorers for as long as the tombs have stood. But for all the awe and wonder they inspire, these ancient beliefs are often met with skepticism. To some, the Stargates, celestial journeys, and divine beings of Egyptian myth are simply symbolic constructs, metaphors for the soul's journey through death and rebirth. But are they merely symbols, or do they hold a deeper, more tangible truth? Mainstream scholarship on ancient Egypt tends to approach these beliefs with caution. The Stargates, the boat of light, and the journey of the soul are often interpreted not as physical realities, but as metaphors for spiritual transformation. The soul's passage through the duat, for example, is not seen as a literal journey to another world, but as a symbolic process of purification and ascension. The gates and boats represent the obstacles and challenges the soul must overcome before it can join the gods in the afterlife. This interpretation aligns with the Egyptian understanding of the afterlife as a process of transformation, not just for the pharaoh, but for all souls who journey through the underworld. The gods, too, are often seen as representations of natural forces rather than actual extraterrestrial beings. Ra, for example, is not a literal sun god who travels across the sky in a boat, but a symbol of the life-giving power of the sun. Osiris, the god of the afterlife, is not a physical being who rules over a heavenly kingdom, but a symbolic figure representing death, rebirth, and the eternal cycle of life. In this view, the gods are not beings who descend from the stars, but archetypal figures embodying the natural and spiritual forces that govern the universe. This interpretation, while grounded in scholarly rigor, does not fully account for the profound sense of divine presence that pervades Egyptian mythology. The Egyptians themselves did not see their gods as abstract concepts, but as living, active forces that interacted with the world in tangible ways. The Stargates, the temples, and the sacred texts were not just symbolic representations of the soul's journey. They were believed to be real, active elements of the divine process. The gods were not distant figures, but present and involved in the lives of the pharaohs and the people of Egypt. This brings us to a central question. If the gods were symbolic, why would the Egyptians invest so much effort into creating physical structures, temples, pyramids, and tombs that aligned with the stars and were designed to facilitate the soul's passage to the afterlife? Why would they build monumental structures that seemed to serve no practical purpose other than to honor the gods and ensure the pharaoh's journey to the stars? Was it simply a reflection of their religious devotion, or did they believe that these structures held the key to accessing the divine? The Stargates, too, raise questions that go beyond the symbolic. In the Amduat, the soul is not simply moving through abstract realms. It is passing through gates, each one with a specific function, each one guiding the soul to a different stage of its journey. These gates are not just metaphorical obstacles. They are described in great detail, with their own unique characteristics and roles in the afterlife. The descriptions of the Stargates are so vivid and precise that they cannot be dismissed as mere allegories. They suggest a belief in actual, tangible portals, places where the soul enters the divine realm, passes through, and emerges transformed. And yet, even as the priest reads these words, the tomb remains still. The question lingers, as it always has. Are the Stargates and the celestial journeys described in the Amduat and the Books of the Dead merely symbolic, or do they represent a deeper reality, one that the Egyptians understood, but which has remained hidden from the modern world? The answer, perhaps, lies not in the pages of ancient texts, but in the very alignment of the pyramids, the careful design of the temples, and the precise knowledge of the stars that guided the Egyptians throughout their spiritual and earthly lives. As the priest's voice fades, the tomb seems to hold its secrets close, waiting for the next soul to journey through the gates. Whether those gates are symbolic or real, they remain a powerful symbol of the connection between the earthly realm and the divine, a connection that transcends time, space, and understanding, reaching beyond the stars to a realm that only the gods truly know. The tomb's air shivers with the weight of ancient wisdom as the priest continues to recite the sacred texts, his voice steady yet filled with reverence. Each word he speaks is not just an invocation of the divine, but a revelation, opening a hidden world where geometry and the cosmos dance together. In the stillness of this sacred space, one can feel that the very structure of the tomb itself holds a secret, a key to understanding the deep connection between the Egyptians and the stars. The temples, the pyramids, and the tombs were not simply structures built to honor the gods. They were vessels of sacred geometry, designed to align the earthly realm with the cosmic order. In ancient Egypt, geometry was not just a practical tool, but a divine language, a way to encode the mysteries of the universe into the very fabric of their architecture. The Egyptians believed that the universe was governed by a divine order, a pattern that could be understood through the study of sacred geometry. The pyramids, the temples, and the sacred sites were all constructed according to these principles, reflecting the cosmic balance between the earth, the stars, and the gods. Every angle, every line, every curve had a purpose beyond mere aesthetics. These structures were built as earthly representations of the heavens themselves, designed to channel divine energy and align with the celestial forces that govern the universe. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its perfect alignment to the cardinal points and its precise measurements, stands as a testament to the Egyptians' mastery of sacred geometry. Its proportions were not arbitrary, but were based on the divine ratios that governed the cosmos. The pyramid's base, for instance, is aligned with the stars of the constellation Orion, which was associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife. This alignment was no accident. It was a deliberate design, ensuring that the pharaoh's soul would be guided to the divine realm after death, following the path laid out by the stars themselves. The very shape of the pyramid also holds symbolic significance. The pyramid, with its square base and triangular sides, is a representation of the cosmic mountain, the Benben, which was the primordial mound that rose from the waters of chaos at the beginning of time. This mound was believed to be the point of creation, where the first rays of the sun, Ra, illuminated the earth and brought order to the universe. The pyramid, in this sense, is not merely a tomb for the pharaoh, but a cosmic symbol, a bridge between the earthly realm and the heavens, designed to facilitate the pharaoh's ascent to the stars. Sacred geometry is also reflected in the design of the temples. These structures were carefully constructed to align with specific celestial events, such as the rising of the sun or the movement of the stars. The temples were built with precise measurements to ensure that the light of the sun would enter the sanctuary at certain times of the year, illuminating the statue of the god and creating a moment of divine contact. The alignment of the temples with the stars was not simply for decorative purposes. It was a means of ensuring that the divine energy of the cosmos would flow into the temple, bringing the gods down to earth and allowing the pharaoh to communicate with them. The Egyptians' knowledge of sacred geometry was not limited to their architecture. The principles of sacred geometry were also encoded in their religious texts, such as the Amduat and the Books of the Dead. These texts, which describe the journey of the soul through the afterlife, are filled with symbolic references to geometric patterns and cosmic alignment. The soul's journey through the Duat, for example, is depicted as a path through a series of gates, each one representing a different stage in the soul's transformation. These gates are not just obstacles to be overcome. They are symbolic representations of the divine order, each one a step toward ascension and unity with the gods. In the sacred geometry of the Egyptians, the Stargates themselves were not just portals. They were sacred symbols, representing the alignment of the soul with the divine cosmic order. These gates were not simply places through which the soul passed. They were the very means by which the soul transcended the mortal realm and entered the divine. The geometric patterns of the Stargates were designed to align the soul with the stars, ensuring that it would travel along the correct path to its ultimate destination, the realm of the gods. As the priest's chant fades into the silence of the tomb, one cannot help but feel the profound connection between the sacred geometry of the Egyptians and the mysteries of the cosmos. The tomb, with its carefully designed architecture, is a reflection of the celestial order, a microcosm of the universe itself. The pyramids, the temples, and the Stargates were not merely structures built by human hands. They were divinely inspired creations, designed to bridge the gap between the earth and the heavens, to align the mortal realm with the divine. The sacred geometry of ancient Egypt was not just a tool for understanding the physical world. It was a means of connecting with the divine, a way to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos and understand the eternal dance between the earth, the stars, and the gods. The tomb is bathed in the soft glow of flickering candlelight, casting long shadows on the stone walls. The priest's voice rises in the stillness, reciting the sacred verses that speak of the sun and its eternal role in the cosmic order. To the Egyptians, the sun was not merely a source of light. It was the embodiment of life itself. Ra, the sun god, was the creator of the universe, the force that brought order to chaos and light to darkness. Every day, as the sun rose in the east and traveled across the sky, it reaffirmed the cosmic order, maintaining the balance between the earth and the heavens. The pharaoh, as the living incarnation of Ra on earth, was not just a ruler. He was the divine representative of the sun, the one who ensured that the solar order was upheld. The sun's journey across the sky was not just a physical event, it was a spiritual and cosmic one. The Egyptians believed that the sun's daily journey through the sky mirrored the soul's passage through the afterlife. As the sun rose in the morning, it symbolized the birth of life, the beginning of a new cycle. At noon, when the sun was at its zenith, it represented the peak of divine power and illumination. And as the sun set in the west, it marked the descent into the underworld, the journey into the Duat, the Egyptian realm of the dead. The sun's descent was not seen as an end, but as a transition, a passage through the gates that led to rebirth and renewal. The Amduat, the sacred text that describes the journey of the soul, is filled with references to the sun and its relationship to the afterlife. The sun god Ra, in his boat, travels through the underworld each night, crossing through the Duat, passing through gates and realms that are similar to those described in the books of the dead. In this sense, the sun's journey is a parallel to the soul's journey after death. As the sun rises each morning, it symbolizes the rebirth of the soul, the triumph over darkness and death. Just as Ra is reborn each day, so too is the soul of the pharaoh reborn in the afterlife, ascending to the stars and joining the gods in their eternal realm. The relationship between the sun and the stars was central to the Egyptian understanding of the cosmos. The Egyptians believed that the stars were the souls of the gods, the eternal bodies that existed in the heavens. These stars were not distant points of light, but the very essence of divinity, and the pharaoh's soul, upon death, was believed to join the stars, becoming one with the gods. The sun, with its daily journey through the sky, was the bridge between the earth and the stars, the means by which the pharaoh's soul could ascend to the divine realm. The sun's connection to the stars was also reflected in the design of the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its precise alignment to the stars and its connection to the sun, was not just a tomb, but a symbolic representation of the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The pyramid was designed to capture the rays of the sun and direct them toward the pharaoh's tomb, ensuring that the soul would be guided by the light of Ra as it ascended to the stars. The pyramid's shape, with its triangular sides, was a representation of the solar rays, the light that would carry the pharaoh's soul to the heavens. As the priest continues his recitation, the tomb seems to glow with the light of the sun, the rays of divine illumination stretching across the walls. The Egyptians' belief in the sun as the source of life and divine order is not simply a religious concept. It is a reflection of their deep understanding of the cosmic forces that govern the universe. The sun is the source of all life, the force that maintains the balance between the earth and the heavens. And the pharaoh, as the living representative of Ra, is the one who ensures that this balance is maintained. The journey of the sun through the sky is not just a daily event. It is a reflection of the soul's journey through life, death, and rebirth. And in the stillness of the tomb, the sun's light continues to shine, guiding the pharaoh's soul on its eternal journey to the stars. As the tomb's secrets settle back into the silence of the ages, remember that the journey we've shared is just a glimpse into the vast mysteries of the ancient world. If you've enjoyed this journey through the stars and beyond, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Your thoughts and insights are part of this ongoing exploration, and we'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss what lies beneath the dust of time, where more forgotten worlds await to be discovered. Until next time, keep looking to the stars. Who knows what secrets they still hold for us?